following God's plan can sometimes feel quite challenging because it is in our nature to subscribe to our preferences and our desires. It is natural for us to follow what seems to make more sense to us. But how many of us know that when it comes to God's plan, the obvious and natural or most logical way may not necessarily be part of His plan at all? Because our God functions not in the natural. Our God functions in the supernatural realm. See, likewise for Joshua, as he rounded up the 40,000 men for battle, the natural plan or next step was to head into battle, to fight the enemy head to head. But God had a different plan for them. So the question is this: how do we follow God's plan in spite of how difficult it may be? In order to follow God's plan successfully, I want to share with you 3 key things today. The first thing is this: that we need to know our captain, we need to know our enemy, and we need to know what's at stake. So let's look at the first thing, and that is to know our captain. To know our captain. We pick up from Joshua chapter 5, verse 13, and we read here, when Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked. And behold, a man was standing before him with his drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua went to him and he said to him, "Are you for us or for our adversaries?" And he said, "No, but I am the commander of the army of the Lord, and now I have come." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and said to him, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Take off your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. See, the last sentence that the commander said, "Take off your sandals," is a familiar phrase that we see somewhere before, when Moses encountered God in the burning bush. And in the same manner here, Joshua encountered this army commander. And this person was the commander of the army of the Lord. He was not just any normal human being or any other regular folk. Because the word commander here translated actually refers to princes or prominent officers of a royal court or a military captain. See, this person was the angel of the Lord that met with Joshua. The very presence of Yahweh that he had encountered. So Joshua confronted this commander and asked, "Are you for us or against us?" And this man replied, "No, or neither. I am the commander or the captain of the army of the Lord, or the captain of Yahweh's army." In other words, God was revealing to Joshua that I'm not here to be for you or whether for the enemies. You've got it all mixed up. It's the other way around. You are here for me, for my plan, for my battle. You are not the one in charge. You're not the captain of the Lord's army. God is. God is. This was not Israel's battle against the enemies in the land of Canaan, even though it was something that happened in the natural. It seemed that way. But the truth was that this was God's battle. It belonged to Him. And the Israelites received the opportunity to participate and to support God's plan. See, Joshua's response as he fell on his face and worshipped, acknowledged that the captain was the leader. He was the leader and he was Yahweh. Because where Yahweh is, that ground is holy. That's where the presence of God is. Joshua knew that Yahweh was the true captain leading the people into battle. And it was Yahweh's plan that only mattered. So what was this plan? See, we read about God's plan, His battle plan for them in this passage in Joshua 6, verse 1. It says here, "Now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, 'See, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its king and mighty men of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war going around the city once, and thus you shall do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. And on the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times. And the priests shall blow the trumpets, and when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout. and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, everyone straight before him. What a plan. If I was Joshua, I'd be thinking, wait a minute. Wait a minute, God. Where is the military strategy in this? Where's the drawing of swords, that we've been preparing for? We've been sharpening our swords. Where's that? Where's the attacking of the enemy in battle? See, God's plan for Joshua and the Israelites had no military strategy involved. In fact, it was all about marching around. Can you imagine being one of the soldiers that were ready for battle, following the Israelite army, listening to Joshua's commands? Joshua says, okay, tomorrow, guys, we're going to get up, we're going to prepare everything, put on our armor, we're going to go for battle. And what we're going to do is this, we're going to march. We're going to march around, not just once, but 7 times, 7 days, and then on the 7th day, march 7 times, then we're going to blow some trumpets and shout. Imagine being that soldier. I'll be like, this is a ridiculous plan. This is unusual. What kind of plan is this, God? It doesn't even seem like it's going to work. It seems so incomplete. See, the reality was that God's plan was more of a ritual or religious ceremony than a military strategy. The ark symbolized God's presence with them. And there is also that deliberate repeating of the number 7, where Israel was to march around Jericho for 7 days. And on the 7th day, to make 7 rounds before the 7 priests blow their 7 trumpets. See, 7 is the number of completion. And in other words, God's plan was perfect and complete for them. All they had to do was just to follow God's plan. See, to fully obey requires that we place our trust in God alone. To absolutely trust in Him is to submit to who He is and to rest in the work that He has already accomplished on our behalf. Friends, isn't that the challenge for most of us when we are faced in a situation in our lives? Sometimes we feel like it's an uphill battle that we're facing. Maybe it's a struggle that we're going through right now in our lives, or a key decision that we need to make that not only just affects you, but the people around you. And maybe you felt this way before, where you're thinking, what does it feel like? God is not on my side. God, are you for me or against me? Similar to how Joshua responded. But God is saying to us, no, you think the battle belongs to you, but it does not. This battle belongs to me, and I am using you as an instrument to demonstrate my power and purpose. See, as much as Joshua was the leader and commander of the Israelites, God was still Lord over His people. God was the one who was truly in charge. He was the captain of His people. And on top of that, maybe some of us today, we struggle with hearing about the plan itself. Like, God, this plan doesn't make sense. It's so unusual. It sounds ridiculous. What kind of plan is this? Will I succeed with your plan? And can I encourage us today that the battle belongs to the Lord? When you know your captain, you can trust in His plan. When you know who is your captain, you can trust in His plan. See, some of us, maybe today we need to stop trying to act as the captain or the one in charge of our own lives. Because God's battles need to be fought God's way. See, whatever we are facing and experiencing right now, keep remembering this, that the battle is not ours. It belongs to the Lord. He is in charge. He is the captain of our lives. He's the one that will direct our steps. And we are here to participate in His plan. I remember a while back, I was working for about 5 years, and the Lord spoke to me and said, it's time for you to go and study. Go and further your theological education. And at this point in my life, I was still single, but not so available, because I was going to get married soon, in about 6 to 8 months' time. And God was speaking to me and saying, hey, would you go and study now? Would you go and further your education? And different people actually came up to affirm that and gave me a word of the Lord to say, yeah, God is asking you to go and study. So as I was listening to this, I was thinking, okay, God, I will choose to embark on this. When I enrolled into school, I realized I thought I could study part-time and work full-time. But when I enrolled into classes, I realized all the schedules clashed. And long story short, because everything clashed, I was faced with this decision at a crossroad that I needed to either resign and study full-time or don't study now and just continue to work full-time. At that point in my life, to be honest, I'm going to get married soon, no? I'm planning for my wedding. I need funds, I need finance, I need money to pay for different things, to book stuff. And the natural plan, the natural way or the state or plan that I had was just to work it out, get it all resolved, save the money, get married, and maybe a few years later then think about studies. But somehow deep inside, God was speaking to me and saying, John, do you trust me? Do you trust my plan for you? And so with that, I decided to take a step of faith and trust God. And say, okay, God, I will resign. I'm going to study full-time. And I'll be obedient. I'll obey your plan. Friends, to be honest, it wasn't easy at all. There were weeks that I was struggling with my finances because I had no more income that was coming in. And on top of that, we had to plan for a wedding. But interestingly enough, during that period, this was before I came to our church, I was doing a field education, just visiting another church during that period while I was studying. And I told the pastor, hey, I'm just going to visit for maybe a year, and after that, I will try and explore different places. But interestingly, the pastor came to me and said, hey, are you coming here? Okay, we want to bless you. We want to bless you with a monthly allowance, and you don't have to do anything. I was like, what? I can just visit and not do anything? Oh, not bad, not bad. But of course, I offered and said, hey, how can I help and serve in different areas? But all this came on his accord. I didn't reach out, I didn't ask, I didn't say anything, and it just came. And on top of that, as we were planning for our wedding, we were things like, oh, I would love for a mobile coffee cart, like people doing coffee for people. Or I would love to have a good wedding photographer or videographer. And these were things that are on our mind that cost money. But as we were planning, as we approached towards the wedding day, different people came up to us and said, hey, I want to bless you. The Lord just put in my heart, I want to bless you this amount. And all the amount went to specifically to our mobile coffee cart, to our wedding photography, to different things in our wedding. And God just began to show off in His goodness over our lives. Although the reality was that it was difficult. It was never easy. But we had to trust and to obey in God's plan for us. I had to rely on Him. And had it not been for this journey and trust, I wouldn't be standing here today. I wouldn't have the opportunity to be here and to meet with Grace Assembly and to commit to serving and be a part of this great church. So thank God, and God is good. Amen? Can we give God the praise and the glory? He's such an amazing God. And His plan is for us. See, what may seem natural or logical to us may not necessarily be part of God's plan to begin with. As much as God's battle plan for the Israelites might have sounded ridiculous or unusual, but it clearly revealed that God was not bound by our circumstances. He's not limited by what people have experienced in the natural. And the question to us today is this: is there an area in your life right now that you need to release control and rely on God's plan and His leadership? Can you let Him be the captain of your life? Do you know that He is your captain? For some of us, maybe it's our marriage. We're struggling in our marriage, and maybe the natural plan after hearing what other people are sharing with you is, just give up. That may sound natural, but God's plan may be ridiculous and unusual. Maybe God is speaking to some of us today to say, come on, release control. Let me lead you in this. Let me be the captain of your life. For some of us, it could be our children. That we're so concerned and worried about their future, worried if we're even going to raise them up right. And God is saying, release that control. Do you trust and obey the Lord and His plan for your life? All of us here, we have different things that we are facing, different situations that we are going through. And the Lord is saying, are you ready? Is there an area that you are ready to release to His control and to rely on His plan and His leadership? It's similar to how Joshua responded. We too should come to God and ask, Lord, what are you speaking to your servant? What are you saying to your servant? See, Isaiah 55 verse 8 and 9 says this: for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as high as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Friends, His ways are not our ways. His ways are higher and His thoughts are greater than ours. Whatever the battles we are facing in our lives right now, know that the battle belongs to the Lord. Know that He is able and His ways